All right, and welcome to the first episode of Conquering Netflix. I hope that's what this show will be called. We'll see as it continues to go on. That is the working title that we will be working with as it is published right now. But I've been working with some other stuff. But let me explain to you what Conquering Netflix is, or what the idea actually is. This is a show where I will try to do the impossible. I will try to consume the entire Netflix catalog. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sounds crazy. Sounds far-fetched. Sounds impossible. All of those may be true. There is no timeline for my completion, and to be honest, this is a secondary focus of the podcast, I guess. To me, the primary focus of this podcast, even though it is called Conquering Netflix, is to provide you, the audience, with a list of reviews that you can refer to when you're trying to find something to watch on Netflix. Now, if you're like me, you've probably spent 2 to 3 years of your life probably trying to find something on Netflix or any streamer out there besides this. But Netflix is my stream of choice. I do have other streamers if you're wondering, but that's just the one. Netflix is the one I feel like that if we were to put it into a different sort of understanding, Netflix is like the basic cable of streaming, in my opinion. It's like the CBS of streamers, if you will. Because, a lot of people, not everybody has Apple TV, not everybody has Paramount Plus, not everybody has Hulu. But you talk to a lot of people in your circle, most of them have a little bit of Netflix action. Most of them, like that ta-dum, they like to see what's going on, Netflix and chill, if you will. So that's why the idea of this is to provide the audience with a list of reviews that you can come to when you're coming home on that Friday night and it's been a long day and you don't know what you want to watch. All you know is you want to watch something that's not network television, that's not YouTube, something that's gripping, maybe a weekend binge or some weird documentary or a reality show that you probably think shouldn't have been made, but you're going to watch it anyways. When I want to be the person that brings that to you. And like I said, I spent a long time myself trying to find what's on Netflix, and I've watched and had Netflix for a long time, which is why I feel that I'm the appropriate Sherpa to guide you through this journey. And each week I will pick, at least now, like I said, we're fleshing this out. At least each week right now, or maybe even 2 weeks. I do not know. I wish I knew, but I don't, guys. We're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. Each week I will pick 3 offerings from Netflix and discuss and rate them on a consistent scale that we will call the Mutton Flock. And the Mutton Flock is measured in sheep bleeds. Every title will be judged by the same criteria. And if you're wondering what a sheep bleed is, I will play for you right now. Right? And so what that is what's going to be basically every bleep is a star, if you will. I wanted to do a little bit of a different rating system. I just didn't want to make, this one has 5 stars. It's been done. It's not this show. It's not Conquering Netflix. It's not the original stuff we're trying to bring to you right now. So there'll be 3 different criteria that it'll be judged on. And I think this is stuff that all Netflix shows should. And that's something I feel is also different than your average network television show. I feel like Netflix shows and streaming shows overall come with this pressure of, is it good? Is it worth telling your friend about? Is it worth, like even rewatching or even talking about? Do you ask somebody that beside that, hey, have you watched the show? I feel like that wasn't happening. It may have happened years ago when we only had 3 channels, but in the 10 to 20 years before streaming, I don't feel like that was really happening. I feel like TV was going down. And it has been said that we're in the golden age of television right now, or we're actually probably on the way out. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, but we're still in it a little bit. But like I said, these criteria, there'll be 3 things: watchability, fun factor, and is it worth a rec? So let's go back and understand and describe a little bit so we understand what's going on. Watchability. Is it something that you feel like it just grips you? Is it good? Is it good to the last drop? Is it worth watching? Is it something you have to put your phone down for? Is it something that you need to be alone for? What's that watchability rating? We're gonna, it's gonna be 1 to 3 bleats for every single one of these. The fun factor. Now this doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be a comedic aspect of it, but is it fun to watch? I'll give you an example. Squid Games. Squid Games was fun to watch. Didn't have to be funny. There were funny parts to it, sure, but the fun factor, is it something that you're like, this is what they call appointment television, like true entertainment as it should be? Does it have that fun factor? Is it is it worth it? And then the last one, is it worth a rec? Is it worth you recommending this to somebody else? Is it worth you putting your reputation on the line and saying, hey, I just watched this cool thing on Netflix and I think you might like it? Now, if you say that too many times, everyone's going to know you have trash opinions and they will not come to you for good shows. They won't even bring good shows to you because they know you don't appreciate them. So what I'm saying is, That's a very important topic, or a very, very important criteria. I think all three of these come together and make, if you get a 3 out of 3 on these, if you get 3 in it, so the most sheep bleats you can get on the Munflock system is 9, right? If you get 9 of those, I feel like it's a decent show. We won't have many of those, I don't think. I've already reviewed a few of these. I've only had, I think, 9 in all of them. But yeah, that's explaining the and if that wasn't clear, I think what I mean is each category will only be rated at a max of 3. So they can the most you can get is 3 bleeds for each category. So the max of all is going to be 9. I don't know why once I said that, I feel like I was missing something. Of course, like most podcasts, it will grow and evolve. Like all this, the stuff I've done before. If you followed this voice in any way, in any capacity whatsoever, you know that I also have another podcast that I do. I have actually a couple podcasts, depending on how you look at it. And so I've watched those grow and evolve. And so that's what kind of told me to just start this. I've had this on my mind for, probably maybe even a year, if not, somewhere more, of just something that I wanted to do. And I realized when I started my previous podcast, I wasn't ready for that podcast either whenever it started. I just had to go ahead and get it done. Go ahead and start it so they can continue to evolve. So that's pretty much it. I also don't want it to be a very long podcast. I think with the other podcast, I'm shooting for it to be much more of it's going to be a long form idea. This, I don't really see ever getting more than a half an hour. I'd be surprised if it does. The idea, I think, in this is going to be the sweet spot of around 15 to 20 minutes. And then obviously there won't be this much of an intro on the next one because it won't be explaining to you how it works. You'll just be back ready for some conquering Netflix. How much more can we do? And so with that being said, why not just go ahead and get into it and start reviewing and conquering these Netflix shows?
The people that were close to Steve knew he was always happy, always wanted to make other people laugh.
They didn't dress like everybody else. They didn't have education like other people. The Avery family didn't fit into the community.
Stevie did do a lot of stupid things, but he always owned up to everything he did wrong.
I think I had a good life till all the trouble started.
Penny Bernstein was everything that Stephen wasn't. So just think of the two of them side by side.
There was no real investigation done by the sheriff's department.
The sheriff told the DA not to screw this case up. He wanted Avery convicted of this crime.
There isn't one iota of physical evidence in this case that connects Stephen Avery to it. In fact, the sheriff was told by the police, you have the wrong guy.
All right, so the first show that we have for you today is Making a Murderer. Making a Murderer. It is a Netflix original. It's written and directed by 2 people. I'm assuming they're 2 women, but it's Laura Ricciardi and Moira Demos. Man, if you listen to my other podcast, you know I'm not good with words and or names. But this is a wild show. I feel like wild is used a lot of times, but this one it definitely applies. It unfolds over 15 to 20 years. And depending on where you want to start the story, it can be even longer. But it kind of centers itself around a man named Stephen Avery. And this is true. But I want to say this is nonfiction. That's something I will hopefully, I guess I'll have to lay it out a little bit more so you guys know what's going on. It's a nonfiction documentary, if you will. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll even get into that. I'm not sure how you classify certain of these, some of these shows. But it centers on a man named Stephen Avery, and he was convicted of rape in 1985. He serves 18 years in jail for that. Didn't do it. Gets out, then like 5 years later gets convicted of rape and murder again, and turns out he didn't do that one either. And so I'll leave it there as far as like the spoilers. I think it's gone 2 seasons, and I just finished the second one. I'm telling you, I'm ready for season 3 because this man is, I'm just about to give it away. I can't give it. It's worth watching. That's why I'm saying it's worth watching. It's a long slog though. It is. If you like true crime, if you like that type of stuff, then you'll probably like this. If you like true crime, and also if you like real procedural type stuff, like, because they really they just lay it out, like they lay just every piece of evidence is like meticulously discussed in the show. You don't find that with a lot of true crime documentary shows. Like they really, I almost felt like I was on the team. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, oh, we're about to crack this case. You know what I mean? But we ended up, not really, because there's a 3rd season coming. But it's 2 seasons. Like I said, there's 10 episodes long. The episodes are about an hour. Like I said, they break the case down just to the bone. And there is a payoff at the end, kind of. The 2nd season is a reaction to the 1st season, if that makes any sense, which is pretty cool, especially if you're binging it, because you watch the 1st season, and then the 2nd season is like just talking about, kind of giving you that that after show almost kind of thing in the 1st episode of the 2nd season, because it's like, let's talk about what you just saw, kind of, in a little bit, but not really. But yeah, so that's Making a Murder. I would definitely check it out. Let's go ahead and rate it really fast. For watchability, we're gonna go ahead and go with 2. Fun factor, I'm gonna say 2. Because if you like true crime, there's definitely, like, it's really sad to say because there's murder and rape happening in this, but there is a fun factor to it. I know it sounds icky. Worth a rec, though, I will say 3. Which is a total of 7. And I think that's not bad. I think it's worth, I've told multiple people about it, which is why I give it 3. Because it's such a messed up story. Like, it really is. Like, this man really may end up being wrongly convicted twice in his life by the same police department, and that's just worth checking out.
Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives. We can often recognize the best and worst of ourselves in them. Chimp society is a hierarchy. Each chimp always looking for opportunities to move up. Everyone is planning, persuading, plotting. When one chimp group meets another, there's no going back. War is coming.
All right, our next show / movie, whichever one were to come up, is gonna be Chimp Empire. I don't know if you guys have seen this out there. It's just recently come out. That's why it's one of the reasons it's thrown in here right now, is because it's on my mind. It's a wild show with some wild animals. I mean, it really is just about chimps, and these chimps, they get up to some real funny business. And this is an amazing show. I love nature shows, and this is the best one I think I may have actually ever seen. That's, just don't hold me to that. I've seen all the Blue Planet and Planet Earth documentaries, but the makers of this show, they've shown me a side of nature that I've never really seen before. And the show, it follows a group of about 120 chimps that live in the Ngogo forest in Uganda, Africa. And they've got footage for days. Is really what it is. And it covers the birth as well as the deaths of these animals. It's remarkable to see. Truly, it is narrated by Mahershala Ali, which, if you don't know him, he's been in a lot of things. I believe he won an Oscar for the movie Moonlight about 5 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I could be wrong about the timing, but I believe it was in Moonlight. He's got a good voice. You wonder if maybe this wasn't more Morgan Freeman territory. I don't know, but he does a pretty good job. Maybe he's auditioning for that. I mean, me personally, I would love to, in 10 to 20, 30 years, audition for that same role of just being the old black guy who talks about stuff for people. We need that. Evidently, it's been around for as long as we've had cinema, pretty much. But yeah, back to Chimp Empire. These chimps, they have names like Wilson and Carter and Abrams. So I think it's like a British actual, like, made by British people. And so, but I couldn't. There's nothing really British about it. And then they all said their names. I was like, oh, I mean, I was like, where are the Rons, right? Where are the Chads and the Dougs and in the Monkey Kingdom? But it is really good to watch. There is some violence, and that's what really drew me. It may not draw you, so just so you know, there is some violence happening in there. They kill multiple monkeys. The monkeys themselves kill other monkeys. So beware if you're watching with kids. Or I've had multiple people tell me that it was disturbing for them to witness that. So just passing that along. But yeah, so watchability, we're gonna give it a 2. I wouldn't give it a 3 because there were times where I did zone out. Sometimes I'd be on my phone, but when I was in it, and I don't think I've quite finished it. I want to say I have a little bit left of the 4th episode. It's only 4 episodes long. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's really just a 4-episode, I guess, docuseries. But yeah, I would give it 2 of the sheep bleats on the mutton flock. The fun factor, I would give it 3. The only thing that was missing from this was that they didn't talk. If they could talk, this would probably be my most favorite thing in the world. Because I could imagine them talking in my head. I could just see it. But it didn't. But it was like Mahershala Ali, he narrated so well, and they had so much footage that it was like watching a sitcom. They made it It wasn't like just some random stuff that you see. Like, it's really worth it. So I would say there was definitely a fun factor to it. And is it worth a rec? I've already recommended it. Multiple people in my circle have already watched it. So I would definitely give it 3.
It's just mad that we're here again, innit? I got a link. Spain and Morocco. About to come true with a big bit. More money than you ever seen in your life. Do you want to be a part of it or what? People want to get high. That's life. You see, all of this is just the first step. I have a plan.
For Shane Hill.
We're going to put you away. You can help us with that.
And our last one for the day is actually a fiction show from Britain. If anybody knows me, they know I love British crime dramas. I don't know what it is about it. It just speaks to me, but it does, straight to my soul. But this one is not. It's basically in that realm, but I don't know if you want to. I guess it is a crime drama. It's Top Boy and Top Boy Summer House is the show that I'm talking about, and it was written and created by Ronan Bennett, and it's got an interesting storyline, truthfully, because Top Boy Summer House is actually the prequel to Top Boy, but it wasn't written as a prequel. It was just, this show was actually canceled for like 6 years, and then got brought back on Netflix as the same show. And so, but they, instead of keeping it going, because so much time had passed, they just renamed the old show and called the new show the regular title, Top Boy. I know it might be confusing, but so Top Boy Summer House is the prequel, and Top Boy is the now, but the prequel was literally shot before the new show, because it was just I'm probably just confusing people by continuing to explain it, but it's a really good show. It's about basically just like these European drug dealers who are all like immigrants to the UK and London. It's a bunch of like Jamaicans and like Africans, but they're kids, and they're running the streets, and it's like what they do, and they all say food when they're talking about like heroin and like drugs, and it's really cool. You find yourself after watching like a season and a half just saying food for no reason. Like, I just walk in my kitchen, be like, give me the food, bruv. Like I'm from Virginia, I don't know when, and I'm not talking about. Yeah, so like, but you would definitely worth checking it out. It is good if you like that stuff. If you don't like selling drugs and or watching shows about that, and in the UK, then it might not be for you. And Drake likes it. If that makes anybody, he's giving it the cosign. He's actually, they say, one of the reasons I think that it came back the second time. He may even be an executive producer or a producer on the show, but I know he definitely was like instrumental in like having it brought back and being on the airwaves. Definitely check that out. I think the UK description of this show is: series set in the fictional Summer House estates in the London borough of Hackney, and focuses on 2 drug dealers, Duchesne and Sully, along with others involved in the drug dealing and gang violence in London. So that's a really concise and better way of saying everything that I just said for the last couple minutes. Now, to rate it, watchability, I'll give it 2. I would say that because I was kind of let down in the second season of really, I guess, the 4th season of the entire show, because it just went the same way that all like drug dealer shows go, or like, yeah, or not all, because I'll be true to form. I have not seen Snowfall, and after seeing everybody's reaction to this finale, I've got to go back and watch it. But the main like average like trope of like a drug dealer show is them. He makes a lot of money and he helps everybody. He goes through violence. He becomes the top dog, and then he's like, I gotta get out of this game. I gotta move on. I gotta get out of the streets. And so, and then he buys an apartment or a house outside the city, and he's fixing it up, and he's got this girl, and it's like, I want to show you a better life, And that it's like this. So, and they did that. They did that in season 4, and I was like, really? Like, I was with y'all hard until homie bought this nice condo overlooking London. It's like, I want to get out. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, don't be that predictable. So that's why they only got 2. They would have got 1, but it was actually a really good show up until that point. The fun factor, I'll give it 1. Because there's not much. If you're not into that, if you're not into British crime dramas and a lot of dudes talking about give me the food, bruv, then it probably won't be your show. So I give it 1. But is it worth a rec? I would say yes. So I'll give it 2. But really, I should probably give it 1. I guess I'm gonna retract that. One of those. and give it 1 now that I'm really thinking about it, because I don't think I've recommended it to anybody, and I watched it and I loved it. Yeah, so I guess it gets 1. So for a total of 5. I don't know if I said the last total for Chimp Empire, it was 8. All right, so that was the first episode of Conquering Netflix. We just ran through 3 titles, and just a little bit more of but some behind the scenes, some inside baseball. What I'm kind of thinking is, like, I'm gonna try to keep it mixed up as far as the shows that I pick, right? and or movies and all this different thing. I really want to do explore and try to conquer this entire thing. So I'm gonna have to watch some stuff that I've never really watched, or even that's not gonna show up in my algorithm. It's gonna be and that's kind of also why I want to do this as well, because I feel like with the algorithm, some things just on Netflix just get lost, and it's not because we're not watching a lot of it. Netflix just keeps feeding us the same things that it thinks we're gonna like, and we don't always venture out of that. So you talk to 3 people who have Netflix, they're all being fed different things, and when you can talk about it, which is what we do in my life, is when you find out, oh, I've never even heard about that. Like, Netflix isn't even telling me about that. So I'm kind of hoping I can kind of like break the algorithm a little bit with this. But yeah, so that being said, I'm hoping to maybe do something like, I don't know, a movie, a show, and a reality show every week. I'm not sure, but we'll see as time goes on. I hope you guys like the first episode. There hopefully will be more to come. We'll see. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have more down the pike. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be something that people will enjoy or something that's sustainable with the other podcast stuff, just being open. But yeah, thank you guys for listening and press and play. See you next week.